You're listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes, right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from January 26, 2024. Of course, it is the go-home SmackDown before the Royal Rumble Premium Live event that is set to take place in Tampa, Florida. Of course, the Royal Rumble kicks off the road to WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, and all eyes are on the fatal four-way that is going to be taking place at the Royal Rumble as Roman Reigns defends his undisputed title against the megastar, LA Knight, the Apex Predator, Randy Orton, and the megastar himself, when everybody's saying LA Knight. Yeah. We also have new women's tag team champions. Of course, Kayden Carter and Kitana Chance defended their women's tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors, and the Kabuki Warriors are now your new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But before we get on with all this craziness regarding Friday Night SmackDown, of course, if you guys haven't been paying attention and have been living under a rock regarding all of the news going on in the realm of WWE, you guys all know Vince McMahon right now is in deep waters, and he's in a situation that he's most likely probably not going to get out of. And there was bombshell news that came out during SmackDown, and from what it looks like, Vince McMahon has officially resigned from World Wrestling Entertainment. He's resigned from TKO. He's resigned from Endeavor. Vince McMahon is no longer a part of World Wrestling Entertainment. And when I mean he is no longer a part of World Wrestling Entertainment, I 100% mean he is no longer a part of World Wrestling Entertainment. It is literally in the thumbnail. Good riddance, Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon himself tarnished his own legacy. So we're going to be talking about all of this right here on the SmackDown review. We're going to be talking about Vince McMahon, and then we're also going to be talking about the entire SmackDown show. Of course, the SmackDown show was the go-home show before the Royal Rumble. Before we get on with all this craziness regarding Friday Night SmackDown and all the Vince McMahon news, of course, if you guys want to, please make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, follow me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All right, let's get on straight with the Vince McMahon news. Of course, this was a bombshell report reported by Deadline. Vince McMahon resigns from the Endeavor-owned sports group after horrific rape and sex trafficking claims. This is an exclusive by Deadline. Slammed by allegations of rape, defecation, sex trafficking, and more, Vince McMahon is out at WWE and the UFC parent company TKO Group Holdings. In a comment made by Vince McMahon, he stated, and I quote, "I stand by my prior statement that Miss Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth," McMahon said this evening of the scorching lawsuit against him filed earlier this week. "I tend of vigorously defending myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name." So this man is still, Vince McMahon, even after all this time, is still denying any wrongdoings regarding this whole allegation. Continuing on, he says, "However, out of respect for the WWE Universe, the extraordinary TKO business and its board members and shareholders, partners and constituents, and all of the employees and superstars who helped make WWE into the global leader it is today, I have decided to resign from my executive chairmanship and the TKO board of directors effective immediately," the WWE co-founder added. And continuing on with the story, McMahon's abrupt exit was spawned by ex-WWE staffer Janelle Grant's detailed and shocking sexual assault suit of January 25th. His resignation came after a long day of discussions and deliberations among top players at TKO and WWE as the blast radius of Grant's legal action became apparent and the corporate situation increasingly untenable for McMahon. Continuing on. Explicit in its depiction of Grant as a constantly abused sexual punching bag for McMahon and various WWE executives and at least one unnamed quote-unquote WWE superstar who a lot of people are pointing the finger at Brock Lesnar because in the article released by the Wall Street Journal, they named this person as a WWE superstar and a former UFC heavyweight champion. During her time at the company from 2019 to 2022, the suit seeks various damages and voiding of the NDA to the former staffer who was forced to sign. A McMahon spokesman on Thursday called Grant's lawsuit, quote-unquote, replete with lies and declared their client would fight it in court. Continuing on. Today, TKO referred to deadline to McMahon's statement when contracted for more on the situation. As for who may take over McMahon's now vacated executive chairman gig at the company, or even if that position will even continue, it is all to be determined, sources say. WWE boss Nick Khan tonight told staffers in an internal email that McMahon has resigned and, quote-unquote, will no longer have a role with TKO Group Holdings or WWE. While sudden, McMahon's fall from his TKO perch amidst the sexual abuse allegations followed his ouster in 2022 from the WWE he co-founded due to quote-unquote alleged executive misconduct. The misconduct, which named WWE Talent Relations Chief John Laurinaitis, came as scores of multi-million-dollar payoffs to former female employees and others that were made public. One of those revelations included a quote-unquote $3 million payoff to a woman McMahon had an affair with. And in her complaint, Grant says McMahon agreed to pay her $3 million in 2022 to keep their sexual relationship quiet if she signed the NDA. Now seeking to get that NDA neutered, Grant signed it at the time, but she has only received $1 million from McMahon so far. Named as a defendant in Grant's suit, Laurinaitis left WWE in 2022. Though canned from the company by the WWE board in early 2022, the controversy courting McMahon returned not long afterwards, put a new board in place, and completed the sale of WWE to Endeavor. Out of that windfall, TKO was formed last year. In her suit, Grant refers to the internal WWE probe into claims against McMahon as a quote-unquote sham. Having previously boasted of McMahon's role in the Endeavor-owned company TKO, where Ari Emanuel is the CEO, said yesterday after Janelle Grant's assault and abuse lawsuit was filed that Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. They went on to distance themselves from McMahon by adding, quote-unquote, while this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing this matter internally. The latest suit against McMahon was just filed over 48 hours after it was announced that TKO had made a 10-year, $5 billion deal with Netflix for the streamer to get in the ring starting next year with WWE's Monday Night Raw, as well as other programs from the company. The distributing lawsuit and now McMahon's resignation also comes as WWE's 37th annual Royal Rumble is set for tomorrow, streaming and on pricey pay-per-view. The Rumble features wrestlers from Raw and SmackDown units meeting up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and fighting it out in the ring. The lucrative event will clearly not feature Vince McMahon right now. So that was the article reported by Deadline, who broke the news that Vince McMahon has officially resigned from World Wrestling Entertainment. What are my thoughts on this whole thing? This whole thing needed to happen. Absolutely, this was the right decision to make. Clearly, there was a lot of discussions going on at the TKO offices at Stamford, Connecticut, in WWE headquarters as well. Vince McMahon did this to himself. I don't care what anybody says. Vince McMahon did this to himself. And we all thought when Vince McMahon retired 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, when Vince McMahon retired, we all thought it was going to be permanent. And we all thought Vince McMahon was going to be retiring for good after all of those allegations came to fruition via the Wall Street Journal. But then, of course, in the beginning of 2023, he forced his way back into the company, and the rest is history because he wanted to foresee a sale of WWE. There's a lot of suitors to potentially buy WWE that led to Endeavor. Endeavor was the one that ended up purchasing the WWE, and then there was a merger between the WWE and UFC that completed just a couple of months ago in order to form TKO. And then now Vince McMahon, of course, was back in the waters, and he had a minor role in TKO. And what happens as of right now, these allegations resurface once again. New allegations resurface via the Wall Street Journal, and they are very horrific. If you guys haven't checked out my video or my podcast of Vince McMahon and the entire allegations, please check it out. It is episode 28 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast. The link will be in the description below. But nonetheless, these allegations were very horrific, very disgusting on all levels. 78-year-old Vince McMahon, in the position that he was in, is a pure example of an abuse of power. Vince McMahon was abusing his position as the chairman of the board, and this was years before the merger even went down. And Ari Emanuel clearly saw this and was like, look, we can't have Vince McMahon being a part of TKO in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a big role or whether it is a minor role. And think about this. The main reason as to why Vince McMahon sold WWE to Endeavor to begin with was because of the fact that he still wanted to have, in some way, shape, or form, control of the company. He wanted to control the day-to-day operations of WWE. That is basically the sole reason as to why he sold the company to Endeavor. And Ari Emanuel was like, okay, great, yeah, you can be a part with us. But it's clear as day that life bit Vince McMahon in the ass. Life bit Vince McMahon in the ass, and karma's a bitch. Karma's a bitch. His plan backfired. New allegations resurfaced. And I don't think this is going to be the end of this. I think there's going to be more information that is going to be coming out, whether that is via the Wall Street Journal, more allegations. There's more to the situation than meets the eye. More to the situation that meets the eye. And this is a situation that Vince McMahon cannot get out of. Doesn't matter how much money Vince McMahon has. He may have billions of dollars in his bank account. This most likely is a situation that Vince McMahon cannot get out of because the severity of these allegations are very disturbing. Very disturbing. You know, Vince McMahon, I'm sorry, but there's no coming back from this. There is no coming back from this. And as of right now, Vince McMahon, as he resigned from World Wrestling Entertainment, he has resigned for good. It is not like 2 years ago when he briefly retired and then forced his way back into the company. It's not like that. In this case, he is gone. He is out. He is resigned. He resigned. He's out. No more Vince McMahon along with the WWE. The WWE can move on without Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon tarnished his own legacy. Vince McMahon tarnished his own legacy, and that was it. TKO did not tarnish his legacy. WWE themselves did not tarnish their legacy. The Wall Street Journal sure as hell did not tarnish Vince McMahon's legacy. The actions of Vince McMahon tarnished the legacy of Vince McMahon. That is what I want to tell you guys right here on this podcast. The actions of Vince McMahon tarnished the legacy of Vince McMahon. He himself is to blame because he put himself in a really bad position. He put himself in a really bad position because he's supposed to be in a leadership role. But instead, he was doing very disgusting acts to a worker at the WWE when it comes to sexual assault, sexual misconduct, a lot of the stuff that we heard via the Wall Street Journal with John Laurinaitis and the WWE superstar and former UFC heavyweight champion, who a lot of people are pointing the finger at Brock Lesnar. I'm not saying Brock Lesnar was a part of it, but I mean, who else on the roster is a former UFC heavyweight champion? Clearly, it is Brock Lesnar, but we do not know if that is legitimately Brock Lesnar. But still, the allegations were absolutely disgusting, absolutely horrific. Vince McMahon is a horrible, horrible human being. No longer are people who are going to be remembering Vince McMahon for his accomplishments in the wrestling business. Nobody's going to talk about that. Now, from now on to the end of eternity, what everybody's going to be talking about when in regards to Vince McMahon is just the horrible acts that this man has done when he was the chairman of the board of World Wrestling Entertainment. That is what everybody's going to be talking about. There is a Netflix documentary that is set to come out about Vince McMahon. And it's not going to be about his accomplishments in the WWE. It's about the scandals. It's going to be about the scandals that were released by the Wall Street Journal. That is what the documentary is going to be about. That is what the documentary is going to be about. And the irony that Netflix, of all people, is going to be releasing this Vince McMahon documentary. And they just recently signed a $5 billion deal for the rights to Monday Night Raw. Think about that. Think about that. Just think about that. The irony, right? The irony. Now, that has been in the works for a while, even before the deal was even made. But think about that. Their future television partner is making a documentary about Vince McMahon that sheds him in a negative light. Think about that. TKO and WWE are distancing themselves quickly from Vince McMahon, and rightfully so. They should have Vince McMahon should have no business being a part of the company in any way, shape, or form. This man should stay retired. And it's only going to get worse for Vince McMahon. It's only going to get worse. Because I guarantee you, and this is just pure speculation and a prediction on my end, but I do think there are more allegations on the way. You don't think there are more victims? There are a lot more victims, in my opinion, the more than meets the eye. That is just speculation on my end. Do not take this with a grain of salt, but I guarantee you there's probably more victims that have suffered the wrath of Vince McMahon. More victims, in my opinion. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. This situation was so bad regarding Vince McMahon to the point where Slim Jim pulled out of the Royal Rumble. Slim Jim is one of WWE's biggest sponsors. And let's be honest with ourselves, WWE at the end of the day is a business. They care about the business and they care about the money end because, again, it is a business and they care about the bottom line. And the moment something affects their bottom line, and this is rightfully so in my opinion, they got to axe you. And they axed Vince McMahon because they knew. TKO knew. Endeavor knew. WWE, TKO / Endeavor. They knew that the longer that they kept Vince McMahon, more and more sponsors were about to pull out of the Royal Rumble. And once sponsors pull out, what happens? You'll lose money. Slim Jim is one of their biggest sponsors, and they pulled out. Now, I do believe the Slim Jim is not the main reason. I guarantee you that there was a lot more companies that wanted to do business with the WWE that ended up deciding not to do business with the WWE because of the matter of the Vince McMahon situation. I assume that the stock price, a couple of days ago was at an all-time high with the announcement of the Netflix deal and The Rock being a part of the board of directors. I guarantee you after this Vince McMahon news, the stock price just dropped because of these horrific acts that was revealed by the Wall Street Journal. But Vince McMahon has officially resigned from the WWE, and from what it looks like, he is never coming back. He is never coming back. Good riddance. The guy should not be a part of the WWE whatsoever. The guy should stay retired. And what he should focus on, what Vince McMahon really should focus on, is how the hell he's going to get out of this situation, which, honestly, I doubt he's going to get out of the situation because these allegations are just absolutely horrific. And I do believe, this is just, again, pure speculation on my end, there's way more than meets the eye when it comes to the allegations that are made against Vince McMahon. Way more than meets the eye. And I think there's more information that we probably do not know that Vince McMahon has done. There's probably more information that we do not know about Vince McMahon. And sooner rather than later, more dirt and more information is going to come out about Vince McMahon. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Vince McMahon and him officially resigning from World Wrestling Entertainment, leaving the WWE. But yeah, moving on, we're going to be talking about Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, this is the SmackDown review from January 26, 2024. The reason why I talked about Vince McMahon is because that was the biggest story coming out of the SmackDown show. The news broke actually during the SmackDown show, so that is why I talked about Vince McMahon right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast on the SmackDown review. But we're going to talk about SmackDown. Before I get on with the SmackDown review, please make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And, as the friggin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, follow me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. But moving on, let's kick off SmackDown. Eladio Carrion kicks off SmackDown. I believe I pronounced his name right. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. He welcomes all of us to SmackDown, and he says, "How you guys doing tonight? We have an amazing show tonight," and he brings out the legend and his personal friend, and an honor for him to present Mr. RKO, Randy Orton. So Randy Orton comes out. Dude's a mega babyface in Miami. Of course, Randy Orton right now is a babyface, but he plays a really good babyface. I mean, Randy Orton has had babyface runs before in his career, but I don't know, man. Something about this babyface run about Randy Orton just seems great. "What's up, Miami?" says Randy Orton. He's bet none of y'all thought that Randy Orton was friends with Eladio, and he thanks Eladio. Show some love for Eladio. But now he is here to talk business, to talk the bloodline. Now, whether you like him or not, they had a hell of a run these past few years. It's because Roman Reigns has held the world title for almost 1,300 days. That is unfathomable. It is virtually unheard of. Nobody can stop Roman Reigns. No one, except maybe for me, says Randy Orton. Because tomorrow is the Royal Rumble. Once all the smoke clears, the only number that will mean anything is number 15. And because after he beats Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, he is going to be the 15-time world champion. But how is he going to do that exactly? How is he going to accomplish that exactly? He will beat Roman Reigns tomorrow, and he would do it in courtesy of the most 3 destructive levers in all of sports entertainment, RKO. Then all of a sudden, AJ Styles comes out and says, you do realize that there are other people in this match, asks AJ Styles to Randy Orton. Well, welcome to the club. He asked Nick Aldis to let him have a match against Solo Sikoa so he can take his head off, and instead, he gave that match to the man that stepped over his body to get everything he wanted in the WWE, that being L.A. Knight. Did you forget about me, Randy? Asks AJ Styles. As long as he's been in the business and in WWE, he should know better, because we have history. After you RKO'd him last week, just know that you have your receipt coming. At the Royal Rumble tomorrow night, you'll be stepping over Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and LA Knight. And as soon as he said LA Knight, of course, LA Knight's theme plays in perfect timing. So LA Knight comes out, and he does this typical, "let me talk to you" shtick. AJ goes ahead, and he says, AJ, go ahead and have your time. He was about to say the name of the next WWE champion with everybody saying L.A. Knight. Yeah. And since he's come back, all he's done was complain, quit your crying, dummy. Dummy, yeah. Called AJ Styles a dummy. So quit your crying, dummy. You think for a second, 24 hours before they have their match, he wants to fight Solo Sikoa? As far as I can see, 4 men in that match are in the match tomorrow, and only he has a match tonight, so that tells him Paul lobbied to make sure to, of course, have Solo Sikoa soften me up. Why? Because I am Roman Reigns' biggest threat, says LA Knight. He saw it at Crown Jewel, and he saw it ever since, and he will walk tonight and hit him so damn hard that he will do his little dad's dance, which was a very entertaining line by LA Knight. With that same energy, he will walk over you, AJ, and Randy with your little voices. And he will walk over Roman Reigns and every single soul that tries to take his WWE Championship that is his. And that is not an insult. That is just a fact of life. Yeah. And then LA Knight leaves. And then AJ all of a sudden and Randy Orton are in the ring. AJ, once LA Knight leaves and LA Knight is walking to the back, AJ Styles catches Randy and ended up getting his receipt by hitting the Pele kick on Randy Orton. Overall thoughts on this whole segment. I thought this was a great segment. Everything about this segment succeeded on all levels. Randy Orton was great. AJ Styles, I'm digging the new presentation of AJ Styles. He's kind of a lone wolf. He's kind of a loner at this stage of the game. He's more of an aggressive AJ Styles, which I absolutely like. And of course, it kind of reminisces of the character that AJ Styles was playing back in 2013 in TNA. Also, LA Knight, of course, LA Knight is always entertaining at what he does. He never disappoints. And I do believe that the Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble is going to be a tremendous match on all levels. But I do believe Roman Reigns will retain his undisputed title. Moving on, we got our first match of the evening. That being Santos Escobar wrestling Carlito. Of course, they've been building to this match for a while. Of course, Carlito and Santos Escobar have a lot of beef. Santos Escobar right now is doing his own thing, being a part of Legado del Fantasma. He's the leader of Legado del Fantasma. And Santos Escobar's heel work, ever since he turned heel a couple of months ago, has been absolutely tremendous. But we're going to be talking about this match. Both men face off. Both men fight it out. We get a series of chops by Santos Escobar, followed by a back elbow by Carlito. Then he bumps the head of Santos on the corner top turnbuckle. And then we get a kick by Santos Escobar, but then Carlito hits repeated right hands. Santos sends Carlito face first to the middle turnbuckle. Carlito's on the outside. And then we get a crossbody attempt by Santos by Carlito. Carlito bumps the head of Santos on the apron, but then Santos comes back into the ring and hits a tope. After that, once we're back from commercial break, Santos ends up going for a shot on the head of Carlito. We get a cover by Carlito and a near fall. Santos then rips off the t-shirt of Carlito, and then he goes for repeated elbows to the shoulders of Carlito. Santos then ends up going for the cross arm breaker on the ropes, and then Santos drives his knees into the corner. He takes Carlito to the top rope. Santos then ends up going for the Hurricane Rana off the top, and then we get a cover by Santos and a near fall. Santos continues to be in control over Carlito, but then Carlito goes for a series of right hands. Santos fights him off, but then Santos continues to work on the arm of Santos Escobar. Carlito gets up. Carlito goes for repeated clotheslines, but then Carlito hits a dropkick on Santos Escobar. Carlito picks up Santos. Santos goes back down, but then Carlito ends up going for the neckbreaker. After the neckbreaker spot, we get a cover and a kick out. We then get a spine buster by Carlito on Santos Escobar. Then we get a back elbow by Carlito. After that, we get a knee strike. Escobar goes down. Humberto Carrillo is on the apron, but then Angel Garza takes out Carlito with the referee being distracted. After that, Cruz del Toro and Wild attack the heels. Del Toro goes for a senton off the top rope on the outside, taking out all of the heels. Meanwhile, Zelina Vega, yes, Zelina Vega, who of course is a part of the LWO, is on the apron. And out of nowhere, Elektra Lopez takes out Zelina Vega, la madrina de Legado del Fantasma. Elektra Lopez comes in, which then leads for Santos Escobar to go for the roll-up on Carlito, and Santos Escobar steals the victory. This was a great match. I'm loving this feud between Legado del Fantasma and the LWO. Elektra Lopez returns and is back being a part of Legado del Fantasma. This is absolutely great. I absolutely loved the decision. She did great work in NXT as part of the original Legado del Fantasma, and I think she's going to do tremendous work on SmackDown being a part of this new version of Legado del Fantasma. So hats off to Elektra Lopez. I'm glad that she is back. Legado del Fantasma, I think the work that they have been doing has been phenomenal. Again, I talked about this last week on the SmackDown review, but I think the idea of not adding Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde back with a heel, Santos Escobar, was the right decision to make because they know the amount of money that LWO is making. So LWO is still a thing, but with Santos Escobar now having, of course, his original group, Legado del Fantasma, they took a team in Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, a team that really WWE was doing nothing with, and now they are basically made men, now being a part of Legado del Fantasma, and they're basically the new tag team replacement, which I absolutely love. I think that was a brilliant move on WWE's part. And of course, this is all going to be building up to a one-on-one match between Rey Mysterio, a returning Rey Mysterio, and Santos Escobar. I would assume that would take place at WrestleMania once that match happens. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, you know, things are going to get interesting, man. I mean, we got the Royal Rumble. Could Santos Escobar be an entrant in the Royal Rumble? Could Rey Mysterio make a return to the Royal Rumble? Then further on, of course, setting up their potential match at WrestleMania. We're going to have to wait and see. But there's a lot of possibilities that WWE can do regarding the whole Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio feud. Moving on. AJ Styles is backstage. Jimmy Uso comes in and he says, listen, everybody knows where LA Knight will be tonight. And he asks him to take out LA Knight before the Royal Rumble. And then, of course, you're all set tomorrow, and more importantly, we are all set tomorrow night. And then the OC comes in, and he says, what was that all about? That being Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson is asking AJ Styles, what the hell was that all about? And then Styles replies, don't worry about it, and then leaves. So the OC's trying to really get the attention of AJ Styles, but AJ Styles is really having none of it. He's taking no bullshit from anybody. And I am loving this character of AJ Styles. Continuing on. R-Truth is backstage with Nick Aldis and the new NXT General Manager Ava Raine, which, of course, is The Rock's daughter, by the way. The Gold Lottery. You guys remember the Gold Lottery spinning wheel? The gold spinning wheel that back in the day a lot of wrestlers would grab, a plastic ball, and they would open that plastic ball and that would reveal their number for the Royal Rumble. Yeah, that is back, which I absolutely love. That is great. R-Truth gets his number, and he asks, does that mean I have to quarantine? Oh, my bad, Mr. Pierce. He called Nick Aldis Mr. Pierce. Your hair grew extremely fast. And then he leaves. So R-Truth is going to be a part of the Royal Rumble, so I think he's going to be playing a very entertaining role on tomorrow's match. Moving on. We got the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line as Kayden Carter and Kitana Chance take on Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, of course, a part of the Damage Control faction. Damage Control right now is on a tear, and they have one goal and one goal in mind: take all of the gold, that being the women's title, which they already have, that being Io Sky being a part of Damage Control. She already holds the women's championship, and now they're going after the women's tag team championships, and of course they want Bayley to win the Royal Rumble. But with Bayley entering the Royal Rumble, I think Damage Control has a little bit of a scheme to whack Bayley out of the group, because I think that is exactly what is going to be going on. But let's go through this match. I thought this match was very, very good on all levels. I loved this match for what it was. I think Kayden Carter and Kitana Chance are a great tag team. That is the pure definition of a real tag team. I've always talked about this before, but the reason why WWE's women's tag team division, if you really want to call it a division, never worked is because they never had real tag teams. Never had real tag teams. Kayden Carter and Kitana Chance is a legitimate tag team. Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, is a legitimate tag team. Hell, I'll go as far as to say Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are starting to become a legitimate tag team based off of the character work that they have been doing. So WWE, even though it's not really, getting over with a lot of people, I think WWE is really taking a lot of baby steps in the right direction to really improve the way that the women's tag team titles are handled. And I think this match did a very good job at doing that. Kayden Carter and Kitana Chance are a great team. The Kabuki Warriors were great. The match itself was very good. We get a drop kick by Carter, and then a roll-up by Carter, and we get a near fall. So Chance and Carter are going straight for the attack. We get a senton by Chance, and then we get a cover into near fall. We get a series of arm drags by Chance, and then we get a double team drop kick by Carter and Chance. We then get a corkscrew plancha by Kitana Chance. Once we're back from commercial break, the Kabuki Warriors are in control. We get a cover by Asuka and a near fall. Chance tries to fight back, but then we get the hip attack by Asuka, misses, sending her to the outside. Kairi then comes in, but then gets taken to the outside. Asuka comes in, and then she applies the ankle lock on Asuka. Chance then escapes, and then she tags in Carter, and then she ends up hitting a crossbody on both of the Kabuki Warriors. She fights off both heels, and then we get a kick on Asuka, and once we're back into the ring, Carter hits a boot on Asuka, and then we get a springboard leg drop by Carter. We then get the double knees by Asuka, followed by a neckbreaker by Kairi, and then we get a cover into near fall when Chance enters the fray. We then get a spinning back fist by Kairi, and then we get another spinning back fist by Kairi, but this time on Kayden Carter. And after that, Kairi goes to the top. She hits an elbow drop, but then Carter gets both of her feet up, and then Asuka makes the tag. She misses the sliding kick. Carter then drives Asuka with a face buster. Then Chance gets the tag, and then they hit the kickstand. After that, we get a cover into near fall when Kairi Sane makes the save. Carter's on the top rope. They try to go for the after party, but then Chance instead hits a crossbody on Kairi. After that, Asuka then hits the sliding kick, but then Kairi on the outside hits the Alabama Slam on Chance on the announce table. After that, we get a roll-up by Carter and a near fall. We then get a spinning kick by Asuka, And then we get a kick by Asuka, and then Chance makes the tag. Kairi goes to the top, and then she ends up hitting the elbow drop. And then we get a cover, and the Kabuki Warriors get the win and win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Overall thoughts on this whole match. Again, this match definitely got the job done. It was a great match. All four women definitely delivered. Kayden, Carter, and Kitana Chance were great women's tag team champions. I loved the way that they were being booked. But eventually, once this match was announced, I think you pretty much knew who was going to take those titles, and the Kabuki Warriors were going to be taking those titles because, again, Damage Control has one big mission statement, in kayfabe, of course, and that is taking all of the gold, and they basically have all the gold right now, so that is great to see. This was a tremendous match. The Bloodline, Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso is backstage. Paul says, sometimes, fix can sound like solve. Last week, Solo Sikoa solved the problem, but the orders by the tribal chief were to fix the problem. I beg you, Solo Sikoa, says Paul Heyman, fix the problem. Fix the problem. Solo then looks at his thumb and he says, okay. Then he leaves. Jimmy Uso then comes in and he says, was that a smirk? That's scary. And then Paul Heyman replies, and the lines that Paul Heyman was saying were very interesting, and is going to be creating some interesting ramifications, especially when it regards to Jey Uso tomorrow at the Royal Rumble. One of the things I love about the Royal Rumble match is that there's a lot of storylines that can either intertwine with one another or happen during the match. And there's a lot of possibilities that we could be seeing, especially regarding Jimmy Uso, because what if the Royal Rumble match could set up Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso at WrestleMania, because that is a rumored match set to take place at WrestleMania. Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso. Imagine that. What if they set up that match at the Royal Rumble? You never know. But the lines that Paul Heyman stated in this backstage segment were very interesting. Paul Heyman replies, and he says, what's scary to him is that his cousin Roman Reigns went from being the big dog to tribal chief because he saw the moment and he seized it. This weekend, there was a moment for Jimmy Uso to seize over on Raw. There is a World Heavyweight Champion with one leg. He thinks he's a visionary and drags his carcass into WrestleMania looking to, be the champion. He needs to make him that harder. He needs to seize that moment. He needs to enter the Royal Rumble, and he needs to win the Royal Rumble. He needs to challenge Seth Rollins, beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and bring the World Heavyweight Championship to the Bloodline. And then he will understand that the line of succession on who is truly the tribal heir all starts at the Royal Rumble. That is what Paul Heyman stated to Jimmy Uso. It's not a coincidence on what Paul Heyman stated in that backstage segment. Because again, the Royal Rumble, of course, one of the things, and I stated before I went through this entire backstage segment, one of the things that make the Royal Rumble very interesting is the storylines that play out in the Royal Rumble. Multiple different storylines playing out all at once. I love that concept. And that's what makes the Royal Rumble very special. That is exactly what makes the Royal Rumble very special. Jimmy Uso now has a lot on his plate. Now, I'm not saying Jimmy Uso is going to win the Royal Rumble because there's only 3 logical people to win the Royal Rumble. And that is CM Punk, who is the most likely to win the match, Gunther, and Cody Rhodes. Those are the only 3 logical choices to win the Royal Rumble. My pick is CM Punk, and I talked about this on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, episode 28. That's what I said. Gunther could easily win the Royal Rumble, but he's not going to win the Royal Rumble. Cody could easily win the Royal Rumble, but he's not going to win the Royal Rumble. CM Punk is going to be winning the Royal Rumble. Moving on, though. Bayley is backstage, and she runs into Bianca Belair. Bianca says that she's about to become a 2-time Royal Rumble winner, but then Bayley gets her number out, and she looks at her number, and it looks like Bayley is not pleased. So I would assume Bayley got a very early number, and she's going to be one of the very first entrants in the Royal Rumble. That is what I think. Or what if this is a scenario in which Bayley ends up getting the number 1 spot? Now she's in deep shit. Because once you get that number 1 spot, you got to be in that match for an entire freaking hour. An entire hour. God damn. We got Bobby Lashley. and the Street Profits. This was a face-to-face with the Final Testament. Bobby Lashley cuts a promo. He says, "Here we go again, chasing cowards. Let's reintroduce our group." How many times have they reintroduced themselves? I asked myself that question. They have a former Triple Crown Tag Team Champions in the Street Profits, and himself, a former United States Champion, a former Intercontinental Champion, and a former WWE Champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley. Listen, we didn't come to Miami to play. The people of Miami came to see a fight that they are going to bring. The Final Testament, there is no more hiding, and come get some. So they call out the Final Testament. Then the lights go out. The lights go out, and the Final Testament come out along with Paul Ellering and Scarlett. Scarlett immediately comes in the ring while Karrion Kross, the Authors of Pain, and Paul Ellering are on the stage. And Lashley calls Karrion Kross a coward because she's going to send his lady to do all of the dirty work. Dawkins asks, wasn't this supposed to be a face-to-face? Ford says the Final Testament is something that they could never be. Scared, partner. Paul says, "There's no fear in Karrion Kross." "Gentlemen, Mr. Ellering speaks the truth," says Karrion Kross. "Every time he looks at them three, all he sees is frustration and desperation. But I get it." And we get a bunch of what chants by the crowd to the point where Karrion Kross just tells the crowd to shut the hell up. Karrion Kross continues on with his promo, and he says he understands. He feels like things aren't going according to plan anymore, and they aren't in control. But guess what? You are not in control. He will give them one thing, and he says that they were supposed to do that face-to-face, and they are standing across from the ring from the prettiest face in the world. Miami, you're not getting your fight tonight. Lashley says he will give him credit. They are standing face-to-face. But Karrion Kross lied because he said they aren't fighting tonight. Oh, yes, we are. And then the Profits go immediately after the heels. Meanwhile, Scarlett goes on the back of the shoulders of Bobby Lashley, and she just gauges the eyes of Bobby Lashley. After that leads the advantage for Karrion Kross and AOP to come into the ring. He takes out Bobby Lashley. Meanwhile, AOP takes out the Street Profits. And then Kross takes Lashley in the ring, but then Bobby tries to fight back. But then Kross ends up going for a shot to the back of Lashley with the Cross Hammer. And the segment ends with the Final Testament standing tall. Overall thoughts on this segment, I thought this was a great segment. I'm pretty much enjoying Bobby Lashley's new group with the Street Profits, but I'm also enjoying the Final Testament. I believe that this group has a lot of potential. I do believe that this group has a shit ton of potential if WWE really, really, really plays their cards right. Because ever since they brought back Karrion Kross 2 years ago, Karrion Kross was not doing anything at all. Karrion Kross was just put in unfortunate predicaments. Let's be real honest with ourselves. And now, since Karrion Kross is now a part of this group with AOP, finally, this could be the chance that Karrion Kross could really, this could be the moment where Karrion Kross finally seizes the moment and is able to really break out. And that is what I want Karrion Kross to do. I want Karrion Kross to break out because Karrion Kross is very talented at what he does. I think AOP is a great tag team, and they fit perfectly with Karrion Kross. Paul Ellering fits perfectly with this whole group. Of course, he managed the Authors of Pain as well. But still, this is a perfect group. I think the Final Testament could be very successful if WWE definitely plays their cards right. But moving on with the SmackDown show. Nick Aldis is backstage with Ava Raine. Jimmy Uso comes in. And he grabs his number, and he's like, "No yeet." And Jimmy looks upset, so he probably got an early number. Meanwhile, we got Austin Theory taking on Carmelo Hayes. This is a rematch from a couple of weeks ago in which the match ended abruptly because both men got hurt. Thank God both men are safe, and both men are doing much better than before. Melo goes for repeated right hands, and then we get a drop kick by Melo. We get a chop by Melo, but then we get a series of knees by Theory. We then get a springboard by Melo on Austin Theory, but then Theory is on the outside to regroup. Theory then comes back into the ring, but then Melo gets sent to the outside. Theory then distracts the referee, but then Waller takes out Melo on the outside. Once we're back from commercial break, Carmelo Hayes is in control over Austin Theory. And then he drives Theory face first. After that, we get a cover into near fall. Theory then goes to the middle rope, but then Waller is on the apron. That leads for Theory to drag him down. Theory hits the ataxia, After that, Theory picks up Melo, but then Melo escapes. We get a waist lock by Melo, and then Theory reverses. We then get a back elbow by Carmelo Hayes, and then Melo goes for the roll-up, and then Theory rolls Melo up and steals the win. After that, Waller, after the match, attacks Carmelo Hayes. Both heels attack Carmelo Hayes. Out of nowhere, Trick Williams, of course Carmelo Hayes' partner from NXT, who will be facing Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde this Tuesday on NXT as a part of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Trick Williams comes in for the save, and the entire crowd was chanting, "Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick." The entire crowd was chanting, "Whoop that trick." Trick Williams is going to be a freaking superstar. 100% Trick Williams is going to break out really quickly. You know, he is very over with the NXT audience, but, I mean, those "Whoop that trick" chants by the crowd, a casual wrestling crowd, that's very impressive, man. A lot of people, you know, clearly shows people are watching NXT. So the crowd is chanting "Whoop that trick." Melo offers a handshake, but Trick refuses, and of course they have a tag team match on Tuesday. This was great. I think Carmelo Hayes is great. Trick Williams, of course. Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes are in the middle of a crisis right now. And really, you know, a lot of people think Carmelo Hayes was the guy that attacked Trick Williams. And, of course, Carmelo Hayes is really denying it, which I think it's pretty obvious that Carmelo Hayes is going to be the one that turns heel on Trick Williams, and then Trick Williams is going to be the mega babyface. But I do not watch NXT. That I'm just telling you guys what I think is going to happen. I do not actually watch NXT. But nonetheless, this was a great match. I thought Trick Williams coming in for the save was great, and the fact that the crowd was chanting "Whoop that trick" clearly shows Trick Williams is 100% going to be really successful based on the reaction that he has gotten. Lasso Carrion backstage talks about how it was his first time in a WWE ring, and it was an amazing experience for him. And he asked who will walk out as the WWE champion. That is what Caleb Braxton asked him. And he says he has to go with his boy Randy because, of course, he's his guy and he's his friend. But then Solo and the Bloodline show up. And Paul pulls Solo back and he says, "This guy's respectful. He's respectful." And then they walk away. Interesting. Moving on, we got our main event of the evening as we have Solo Sikoa, the enforcer of the Bloodline, taking on LA Knight. Yeah. Overall, this match was great. Of course, LA Knight is set to be a part of the Fatal 4-Way match tomorrow night at the Royal Rumble, and he's not going to win the Undisputed Championship. I do believe Roman Reigns will be retaining the Undisputed Championship. But let's go through this match real quick. Solo and LA Knight fight it out. Knight fights off Solo Sikoa, and then Knight is on the apron. He hits a shoulder tackle on Solo Sikoa, and then Solo is still up on his feet. Solo is up on one knee, and then we get a drop kick by Solo Sikoa. On the outside, he slams his hand he slams the hand of Solo on the apron, then onto the barricade, and then onto the announce table. Of course, this is to prevent Solo Sikoa from hitting the Samoan spike. And then he slams his hand on the steel steps. Solo Sikoa then fights back. Solo then, after that, gets sent to the ring post. LA Knight then slams the arm of Solo to the post. At this point, Jimmy Uso is on the apron. And then LA Knight jumps over the top rope, but then lands into a right hand by Solo Sikoa. Once we're back from commercial break, we get the Samoan drop by Solo Sikoa. Then we get a cover by Solo and a kick out by LA Knight. Solo goes for repeated right hands, and then we get a back elbow by Knight. And then we get a kick by Knight. And then we get a clothesline by Solo Sikoa, but then Solo picks up Knight. And then Knight follows up with a kick. And then Knight goes off the second rope and hits a bulldog. After that, Knight goes for repeated rights and lefts. Knight then goes for a jumping clothesline and then goes for the side Russian leg sweep. Then he stomps after Solo in the corner, but then Knight drives his knee into the corner and then hits a right on Jimmy, who was on the apron. Then he counters the Samoan spike into the DDT, but then Knight clotheslines Solo on the outside. Knight then hits a dropkick on Solo Sikoa on the announce table, but then Knight bumps the head of Solo Sikoa repeatedly on the announce table. And then Knight goes for a running knee on Solo. Then all of a sudden, AJ Styles, out of nowhere, hits the phenomenal forearm off the barricade on LA Knight on the outside, causing a disqualification, a DQ. Then AJ Styles sends Knight to the steel steps. Jimmy Uso then comes in with the chair, and he asks him, "Go ahead, do what you gotta do." Then Solo Sikoa pushes Jimmy aside and basically faces off with AJ Styles. And he says, "Take care of it, or I will take care of you," threatening AJ Styles, which pissed off AJ Styles because he's like, who the hell is Solo Sikoa to talk to me like that? After that, what happens is AJ has the chair in his hand, and he hits Solo with the chair, and then he hits Jimmy Uso. After that, Randy Orton comes in. Randy Orton comes out. AJ goes for the uppercut, and then, or I should say, Randy Orton goes for the uppercut on AJ, and then he hits the power slam. Solo then drags Randy to the outside. Then he tries to go for the spinning Solo, but then Randy fights back and slams Solo instead on the announce table. Then Randy sees Jimmy. He takes out Jimmy Uso and ends up hitting the DDT. AJ then misses the phenomenal forearm. After that, Randy takes AJ and hits a DDT on AJ Styles, and then hits the RKO on AJ Styles. The three most dangerous letters in all of sports entertainment, the RKO. After that, the Bloodline. He does the Bloodline signal, and Randy stands tall to end the show. But the show wasn't over just yet. You thought the show was ending, but Randy Orton was doing his little pose up in the ring. He goes back down to the mat. Out of nowhere from behind, LA Knight ends up hitting the BFT, the blunt force trauma, on Randy Orton. Out of nowhere. And then the show officially ends. I thought that ending was pretty badass. I loved that freaking ending. That ending was freaking awesome. I absolutely loved that ending. But of course, this is the build-up for the Fatal 4-Way match set to happen at the Royal Rumble. Who's going to win that Fatal 4-Way match? I think it's obvious who's going to win that Fatal 4-Way match, and it's not LA Knight. It's not Randy Orton, and it's not AJ Styles. There's only one person that could win this match, and it's Roman Reigns. Because it is a very stupid decision for WWE to have Roman Reigns drop that title by getting pinned in the 4-Way or by not getting pinned in the 4-Way, because the rules of a Fatal 4-Way, the champion does not need to get pinned to lose the title. And Roman Reigns, I think it's a really stupid decision if WWE books Roman Reigns to drop that title in that Fatal 4-Way match, because then you wasted your 3+ year investment in the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns storyline. You know what I'm saying? But I do not think WWE will be that dumb. I do believe that they 100% see the criticism in that, and I do believe that Roman Reigns is going to be retaining in that Fatal 4-Way match. But tomorrow, all eyes are set on that 4-Way as well as the Royal Rumble itself. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from January 26, 2024. Of course, this was the go-home show before the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble kicks off the road to WrestleMania. Overall thoughts on the SmackDown show. I very much enjoyed the SmackDown show. It was a great show. I loved the women's tag team match. The main event was great, even though it ended in a DQ, and I'm not really that big of a fan of DQs. This one was kind of necessary considering, of course, the build-up to the 4-Way match that is going to be taking place at the Royal Rumble. The Carlito and Santos Escobar match was great. Of course, we had the return of Elektra Lopez. Everything about the show I thought was enjoyable. There was not really anything that I did not like about this show. SmackDown was a pretty good show this week, and I'm now more excited to see what is going to be going on at the Royal Rumble. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from January 26, 2024. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. Look out for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc channel in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys all later for the Royal Rumble Premium Live event. Peace, and I'll see you guys all later.